The Author's Corner has brought you biographies and highlights of many Coast Guard authors. In this feature, we bring you a lively and entertaining discussion with Tom Rau, longtime boating safety columnist for the Coast Guard and author of Boat Smart, Lake Michigan Devours Its Wounded. Tell me about your relationship with the Coast Guard.
I have 27 years in the Coast Guard. Most of it is in search and rescue, both on the West Coast and on Lake Michigan. At Lake Michigan, I served at 6 different Coast Guard facilities here, search and rescue stations. I write the column, Boat Smart, which runs in a number of Midwest newspapers. When I was on active duty, I'd actually write about Coast Guard search and rescue cases and take the reader right into the case. And based on my experience in search and rescue and in my writing background, it was a great marriage. And I continue to do that with the Coast Guard through the column.
What inspired you to want to write this book?
For 20 years, I've been recording these stories. And I thought, what a shame not to pass on this valuable information. There is more information, Reagan, in that book than it would probably take a boater or boaters 10 lifetimes to even get near achieving. And it's based on actual experiences. And from those experiences, you were able to, I was able to, and continue to impart valuable lessons learned out there on the water. And you know, when you're out in the boat, you go, you know, I remember reading that. So I should take this corrective action. Yes, the weather's picking up a little bit. I should put on my life jacket. Gosh, you know what? I didn't check our engine spaces when we were leaving the harbor. I remember reading that one story in the book or in the column. I better open up the hatches and make sure we're not taking on water. Little things like that. In fact, I have people that read that book regardless of their level of experience, and they'll say, you know what? I saw a little bit of myself in there. And I said, well, I know I sure have.
So how long did it take you to compile the Boat Smart Chronicles?
Well, in the actual writing of the book, one would say it started when I wrote my first column in 1986. And I've collected all these stories. But when I retired in 2002 from Coast Guard Grand Haven, what I then had the opportunity to do was go around Lake Michigan, the entire lake, and I interviewed with commercial folks, I interviewed with other law enforcement, search and rescue agencies to get a different perspective, and with boaters. And from that I was able to collect a large body of information, and then the actual writing process took around 18 months. But it was getting it right, getting the total picture.
So why Lake Michigan? I mean, do you feel like it applies to everywhere?
Lake Michigan is a metaphor for the marine environment, but the wonderful thing about Lake Michigan, I served in Southern California waters from Point Conception all the way into Mexico, and this is one of the most treacherous body of waters I've ever dealt with, but it has it all. It has the size of an ocean. In fact, it should be called an inland sea. It has the variety of boats, from tugboats to sailboats to kayaks to power boats, you name it, it's on here. And Michigan, the state of Michigan, all the way up until 2004, led the nation in registered boats with almost 1 million boats. So I had the opportunity, it's a wonderful body of water, to encompass all the conditions that affect, I think, boaters anywhere. And a lot of my stories, believe it or not, just aren't about Lake Michigan, they're inland lakes. In fact, I even have some Southern California stories in there, South Carolina stories, but water is water.
What do you want boaters to take away from this book?
Biggest advantage is situational awareness. They read this book and they're going to say, you know what, I never thought of that.
Tom, thanks for joining us and giving us some great insight about your book, Boat Smart Chronicles, Lake Michigan Devours Its Wounded. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Well, thank you, and I'm indebted to you and the Coast Guard channel, and I know the Coast Guard is, for allowing me to pass the Boat Smart message.
Thank you. Tom is receiving great recognition for his book from the United States Power Squadron and Soundings Magazine. If you would like to learn more about Tom, you can visit his website at boatsmart.net. The Coast Guard channel also has Tom's bio in the Author's Corner, along with a wonderful review from the United States Power Squadron. And don't forget to pick up your very own copy of the book in the Coast Guard channel store.